Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Angry Addick with me, Getbag the Great, aka Titan Ted, aka Uncle Ted, where today we'll be talking about what's happened over the past week and a bit or so of football and just get a general gist of what's been going on with both Charlton Athletic, the team I support, and the top flight of English football, the Premier League. Now, first off with Charlton, we had a pretty good past week and a half or so. We drew with Port Vale after our victory against Coventry, and then we drew again, this time against Gillingham. We unfortunately did have to leave it a bit late against Gillingham. From what I heard, the ref kind of ended up losing the plot, what with awarding almost 8 minutes of extra time, and Charlton only ended up drawing after going 1-0 down through a very, very, very late equalising penalty. So, not the best news from Gillingham, but things improved, I think, a little bit with our home game against Chesterfield. Now, I only have the updates and highlights to judge this on, but what seems to have happened is that Charlton pressed the attack home again and again and again against Chesterfield, only finding in the 87th minute a header proving to be the victory, which, is promising enough that we are finally being able to punch through the defensive teams that are capable of holding us back and putting in a solid defensive performance like Chesterfield, because Chesterfield, from what I've heard, have had a decent defensive performance so far this season. Not the most amazing, but decent enough. So the fact that we managed to break them down and get in a goal and win for once shows that our attacking promise is improving under Russell Slade. I mean, the thing is, the whole sort of rhetoric about us having to turn our series of draws into eventual wins, I think is starting to pay off. I do think, from the sounds of things, it sounds like we're still lacking that final bit of penetrating depth in the final third, and I would say this is something that's continued on from the few games I actually went to see during the 2015-16 season when Charlton was still in the Championship. We still suffer from that lack of attacking, crushing depth in the final third to properly break down and kill off an opposing team. I mean, we've seen that now so far this season against the likes of Port Vale, against earlier past week against Gillingham, and in the EFL Cup and the Checker Trade Trophy Cup. I hope that things can improve with our recent victories against the likes of Coventry and Chesterfield. I mean, Chesterfield aren't one of the biggest teams in the league, but they've done reasonably well so far this season. So as long as we can keep up that kind of promise, we'll do reasonably well. I mean, naturally, it's kind of a bit annoying that we couldn't have won by more goals, but at the same time, I'm just glad that we won, because League One is so unpredictable that even considerably late into a season in this division, you don't really know what will happen if you don't string together a series of significant results. So I'm happy with the result that we got. I do wish we scored more goals, because we're not really scoring enough goals to put ourselves in a significant enough position to push for promotion, but at the same time, it's just something I'm going to have to deal with it in time. But regardless, it sounds like we had a good performance. We pressured Chesterfield early on and for the rest of the match, and from the sounds of all accounts, it sounds like Chesterfield had to park the bus a lot of the time and basically defend for their lives as Charlton basically went on the offensive. And well, I mean, we're a lot bigger and richer than Chesterfield, so it sounds like their team didn't have as much in-depth quality. That's not to diss Chesterfield's players or their fans at all, don't get me wrong, I have nothing against you guys, but at the same time, it does sound like we were considerably the better team. Again, though, we do need that final gritty attacking depth in the final thirds. I mean, we've got a lot of pacey wingers and strikers. We just need one person, say someone like, kind of like a League One version of Harry Kane. Someone who's not exactly the quickest, but has got a lot of physical strength and technical capability to hold up the ball, slot it through, and make excellent world-class passes, and just punch right through in the final third. Harry Kane has that, and that's the main reason why I think he's been Tottenham's best player for the last 2 seasons. So if we can get someone like that and keep them consistently good for the rest of the season, and maybe keep them for at least a couple more seasons afterwards, then we should be able to push for promotion easily and then secure ourselves a solid spot in the Championship. So hopefully things will start to improve in that regard. Although, to be fair, from the sounds of things, lots of our attackers have been showing a lot more promise, with a lot more shots on goal and a lot more passes and assists in recent times. So hopefully things should be improving now, considering that we've started to win games slightly more regularly and that our draws haven't been as unanimously one-sided. So hopefully things will start to improve. But now on to slightly higher news. So Manchester United doesn't really seem to be working out for them, does it? I mean, you would have thought with the arrival of the special one and this abundance of sort of spending philosophy and brilliant defensive play that Manchester United would immediately turn into one of the best teams in the league, akin to how Pep Guardiola did his little initial revolution to Manchester City. But what seems to have happened to Manchester United is kind of an opposite to Manchester City. Manchester City early on were, doing amazingly well, easily putting in the most consistent performances out of any team in the league. But now they've kind of started to slip up just slightly, and I'm wondering if that's because Pep hasn't really played in or managed a team in a 2 or 3 team league in quite some time. I mean, keep in mind the last team that he managed was Bayern Munich, who are pretty much the dominant team in the Bundesliga, even now after Pep Guardiola's left. So it makes me wonder, is he really fully equipped as an individual manager to manage a Premier League team like Manchester City, who do have a lot of money and talent in their squad, but it's a much more competitive league, the Premier League, than, say, the Bundesliga or La Liga BBVA, because there's a lot more places in this league, there's a lot more teams in this league, and it's very much more competitive. The quality is balanced much more throughout this league. But to be fair, Pep Guardiola is a magnificent manager regardless, even despite what I've just said about him. So I think he should be able to prove the doubters wrong and be able to pull things around, and I'd say Manchester City will finish, at least top 5, I'd say that's respectable enough. I'd say 5th should probably be the lowest where they should finish. Manchester United, on the other hand, I have no idea, because the thing is, they started off badly, and then they had a couple of games or so where they kind of did all right, and they started to improve quite considerably. Zlatan Ibrahimovic was starting to really hold up the ball and tank it up front, and you make some pretty solid passes, and that goal he scored in the 2-1 defeat to Manchester City was actually really good. Pogba was starting to show a little bit more promise after being moved up into more of a advanced centre attacking midfield position, which is good because that's the kind of position he's made for. And Jose Mourinho was showing a bit more promise getting into sort of the middle stages of the first half of the season by not using or relying on Wayne Rooney so much, which is something I really think hampered Louis van Gaal during his time at Manchester United, most certainly. But now the wheels kind of seem to come off the bus, and I don't know if it's maybe because the players or the fans of the English Premier League are maybe a bit tired of Jose Mourinho and his style of football. But I mean, come on, drawing 0-0 with Burnley, are you mad? When you've got the most expensive team that Manchester United have had in the better part of like half a decade, and you can't beat newly promoted Burnley. I mean, okay, fair enough. Burnley are probably the most balanced team out of the 3 teams that got promoted to the Premier League at the end of the last season, and they did win the Championship title. They're a good team. But really, I mean, I don't know. Is there something I'm missing here? Is there some sort of magic barrier around Burnley's defence? I mean, to be fair, there might as well be, because their keeper, Tom Heaton, had an absolute worldie of a day against Manchester United at the weekend. And to be fair, he's a good keeper. I really think he is. If he keeps up his current form, he could probably be one of the next sort of secondary or tertiary English national team keepers. And I'd like to see that, because I think he's a decent goal stopper. But as well as he did, he shouldn't have been able to sort of hold off that many goals against the likes of Ibrahimovic, Martial, Rashford, Pogba and Rooney and all like that. I mean, Manchester United this season have got one of the strongest front lines in the entire league. One of the best they've had in years since they had the front line made up of Falcao, Van Persie and Rooney. I mean, okay, Falcao wasn't really that reliable considering his string of injuries, but at the same time, it was a powerful front line. So this is probably the best sort of attacking front sort of line that Manchester United have had in the better part of at least 3 years, and the best team overall that they've had in the better part of half a decade or so. So I don't understand how they can not beat a team the size of Burnley at least 2-1 or something like that, or maybe 1-0 or something. I mean, credit to Burnley, they put on an amazing defensive show, and I really think they should do well to stay up this season because they've got a good squad, they've got an amazing defence, and they've got a few good sort of forwards here and there. So I think they should do decently enough. So who knows? But Manchester United really need to get their shit sorted out. Otherwise, Mourinho's going to get sacked like he did at Chelsea almost halfway through the previous season, in such fanfare and sort of just general explosive horror. I mean, I don't know if it's as bad as that. I definitely say not in terms of his relationship with the players. The Manchester United players at the moment don't seem to be operating as badly as the Chelsea players were at points under Mourinho last season. But considering the way that he's dropped Wayne Rooney and the fact that he's not really been using Mkhitaryan that much, might disprove my theory. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think Wayne Rooney is really that good enough to be consistently first choice on the team sheet, but Mkhitaryan is a very decent player, and he's certainly proved that in his time at Dortmund. So he should be used a bit more, and I feel the way in which Mourinho's not really been using either of them has kind of been a bit cynical. I mean, don't get me wrong, Rooney's certainly not good enough to be consistently on the first team sheet every week, but it doesn't really seem like they're taking it that well. So I could be wrong that he's not having any significant troubles with the squad as individual players, but maybe we might see something to prove that theory wrong in the near future. One club, though, that's definitely not got that sort of problem at the moment is Antonio Conte at Chelsea, who took over from Mourinho after Gus Hiddink's period as interim manager ended, because he went and smashed Southampton 2-0 at the weekend. It sounds like it was much more of a regular sort of rote of a day performance by Chelsea, which will probably prove to be the deciding factor in whether or not they prove to be consistent title challengers this season, because I think not so much this individual result against Southampton, but now that they've pulled together this string ending with Southampton's defeat of several wins now, several significant wins, that they've proven themselves to be a solid, powerful attacking team once again. And with the flair of Conte at their head, who led Italy quite well at the Euros, they should have a good chance of at least putting themselves within, pretty decent touching distance of the title race. I mean, of course, this Southampton win won't be the deciding factor on whether or not they'll be in the title race for the rest of the season, but it's a pretty good sign, I think. I think probably the 4 teams that this title race will end up being between will definitely be Chelsea, Tottenham, Liverpool, and I think Manchester City. Arsenal will probably pitch in there somewhere and might overthrow one of those teams, but I think those are the 4 most likely teams that the title race this season is going to be between. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you want to hear any more news about Charlton Athletic or any slightly lower league sort of football stuff, let me know. Charlton are kind of really the only major sort of lower league football club I tend to keep up to date with, but if you want to hear about any more football stuff and my shindig and opinion on it, then let us know in the comment section below. And if you liked this video, leave a like, comment, share and subscribe. I'm sorry if this one was a little bit more rambly and haphazard, but it's just how I go, mate. And then anyway, until next time, have fun kicking the ball around, and I'll take you guys out